Part 1 acoustic guitar video. So if you haven't watched that, make sure you go watch that first. And then, so here's the thing. These kind of videos are a little bit consecutive, to where I'm going to show you that piece of paper that I held up. You can see that there's a diagram of a piano on it. So to understand how the capo works, you have to understand the sequence of notes, which will help you understand the sequence of keys, and how you're changing the key with the capo. And you need at least a base knowledge of the piano, at least visually, to understand what you're doing with the capo and understanding what you're doing with changing keys. So I would suggest watching at least Shalisha's Piano Part 1, just understanding like what the keys actually are, and then watching Music Theory one that she did also. You have to understand the Music Theory one or you're not going to get anything that I'm going to talk about. Okay, and then watching the Acoustic Guitar 1 video so that you can see that I am giving you, in that video, chord formations for 3 different keys: the key of G, the key of C, and the key of E. And to understand what I'm doing here, you need that base knowledge as well. So, and for those of you who are actually learning, watch this so that you understand what I'm saying, but don't worry about this too much before you get really comfortable. Like I said in the first video, before you get comfortable with all of those keys and actually playing the songs that I gave you. So the lead sheets that I gave you are in the actual key. I changed them a little, some of them a little bit, just so that they were in the key that you could play normally. So get really comfortable with that first before then tackling the capo and understanding it, unless you want to play on stage very soon. Okay, so basically what the capo does, so this is like your best friend, and here's why I say that. Because what this does is it changes the key of what you're playing. So I told you in the first video that you can know the key of G, the key of C, and the key of E, and potentially to play any song, you only have to know the chords in those 3 keys. Okay, and here's why. Because then we can take a key like a B flat, for example, and we can use this capo. It's backwards. We could use this capo to go 1, 2, 3. Yep. We can use this capo to go down here, and then I can play in the key of G. The chords that I showed you in the first video. So I can play in the key of G using this capo, but because this capo is here, what you're actually hearing is the key of B flat. Okay? So the reason that I said that you can potentially only know the chords of 3 keys is because this capo can give you the ability to play in any key with only knowing those 3. Okay, so basically what this does is it makes all of the strings a half step higher, and then a whole step higher, a whole and a half step higher. You know, it makes like every string just higher, so that when I'm playing a G here, that's an actual G chord. But then whenever I put the capo here and I play the G, the same formation, so now I'm pretending like this is the top of the neck. So up here, without this, like I showed you the formations with G, this first fret would be completely empty. So the same thing applies when I put the capo here, then my G goes here, sorry, with this first fret empty. So it's the same formation, but now you can hear that's a higher chord. As opposed to the one that I played before. Okay, so basically what that's doing is now I'm playing the formation of a G, but this is really a B flat. Okay, so now you understand why we use this capo, And this is kind of like a starter's best friend. So now again, if you get more advanced and you want to learn the actual chords of like the flats and other crazy things, or flats and sharps, like if you want to learn those actual chords and all those crazy things, then absolutely go for it. Of course, it would make it a lot it wouldn't make it necessarily easier, but you wouldn't have to transpose in your head. You'd be able to just look at a B flat and be like, oh, there's the B flat. But that requires like bar chords, which means that you have to like hold down a whole thing and then play something with your other fingers. So basically, like, bar chords are kind of acting as a capo for some of the chords, for not all of them. So I'm going to tell you how you are going to change the key and how you can understand what is happening here. Okay. So, understanding the piano and how it's formed like this. So, I need you to understand that 1/2 step equals 1 fret on the guitar neck. Okay. So, what you're doing when you're changing the key and you're trying to think of what capo, like where do I put the capo to play in this key for this song? Okay. So what you're doing is you are taking in your mind the original key, okay? So you're taking the original key to start. So let's say B flat, okay? Let's just say that. So you're taking the original key and you're going, okay, I'm right here. So let's say I'm thinking of B flat, which is this black key right here, and I have to look to the left or go down notes in my head, okay, to the closest one of the key that I know how to play. Okay, does that make sense? So what are the 3 keys that I showed you how to play? G, C, and E, okay? So these are the keys that I taught you how to play, okay? C, G, C, and E, and then G again. Just because I want you to see if I picked any key. Okay, so if I'm taking B flat, that note, now I have to look to the left. Gosh, this way. I have to look to the left, and I have to see how many 1/2 steps there are between the original key of the song and the closest key that I know how to play, which is G. Okay, so if you know what 1/2 steps and whole steps are, it's basically a key traveling a key is a 1/2 step. So I'm going to A is a 1/2 step, to A flat is another 1/2 step, and then to G is another 1/2 step. So that is 1, 2, 3 1/2 steps, okay? 1/2 step equals 1 fret on the guitar. So, to play the key of B flat, but with the formation of G, 3 1/2 steps equals 1 fret on the guitar. So, and what did I show you before? 1, 2, 3. So, 3 1/2 steps traveling to the key that I know how to play equals capo 3. Okay? So it's super easy if you think of it like that. Now, you can't go, like I said, you can't go right on the keyboard because you're not able to go higher to play like lower, if that makes sense. So you have to go left or you have to think lower. So again, you have to start with the original key that you're looking at. So if you're looking at a lead sheet and it is in the key of B flat, you have to think, okay, B flat to A flat to G. Oh, I know how to play G. So then you have to think that was 3 1/2 steps, so I go to capo 3. Okay. So, same goes, let me just show you another example. So let's say that I am doing E flat. So now you're looking at this black key here. Okay? If I'm thinking left or lower, right? What is the closest key that I know how to play? C. So I go a 1/2 step to D, a 1/2 step to D flat, and then another 1/2 step to C. So that is also 3 1/2 steps. So if you were looking at a song in E flat, you would do capo 3 for 3 1/2 steps, and I would play in C formations, okay? Let's say that I was playing something in the key of F, okay? let's say that I was going in F. So here's an example of there's no black key in the middle here, okay? You know that from E to F is 1/2 step. So in any other situation except for B and C, so C to D would be a whole step because there's a half in between, right? But from E to F there is no half step in between, so that is 1/2 step. So if I am taking the original key of F and I look downward, the closest key that I can play is E, and that is only 1/2 step. So I would do capo 1. Okay, which means that I am putting the capo on this first fret. Okay? Well, cool. So then, if I'm playing an F, I would be playing E shapes. So E, A, B, C sharp minor, those chords that I showed you. Okay. Alright, so that's an understanding of how you're actually figuring out what key you're going from to what key you want to play in, and then figuring out how, like, where the capo goes and why that makes sense. So here's the thing. There have been things in the past that we have posted on our page of kind of like a capo cheat sheet of just like, hey, if you want to play in this key, do this capo and play in these formations. We can do that, and that actually is like a super big help for people starting out. But what I don't like about stuff like that is just that then it just gives people a cheat sheet to go reference, rather than people actually understanding why. So like, why do I play capo 3 in G to play in B flat? Like, why does that actually happen? Just think of the original key and then going lower in your head to a key that you can play. The highest, so with the 3 keys that I gave you, the highest that you'll ever do a capo is 4, and that would be for the key of B, and you would be playing in G. So that would be something like God I Look to You would be in the key of B, or Come to the Altar, or some of the other songs that we do in B. That would be the highest capo that you would do with the rules that I'm giving you. Any higher than 4, once you get into 5, that already sounds kind of high. And it sounds fine, it's just sometimes when it's like, if I was just playing by myself, for example, it doesn't have a lot of bass then, like the lowest note is kind of still high. So if you were playing by yourself on an acoustic, for example, it would just sound a little ukulele-ish. But especially anywhere beyond 4, I would say, like, don't do it, because that it starts to get like too high and tinny and ugh. So, but you should be able to, with the rules that I gave you and with the 3 keys that I gave you, you should be able to play anything, and 4 is the highest that you would go for the key of B. I should address too that one of the keys that I didn't really mention is the key of D. So the key of D is kind of interesting because you know all of the chords in that. You know, D, G, B minor, A. So the reason that I didn't necessarily show you a whole lot of D, so you can play in the key of D if you want. You just have to play kind of the formal chords. You'd have to play like an actual G, an actual D. You could play the A like I showed you before. And then I have a cheat way to play a B minor. And I think I included that in one of the chord charts. But so in the key of D, you can actually play those chords if you want. But I like to, for the key of D, go capo 2 and play in C. Because, again, with my anchor point, I don't have to look for the key of C, as opposed to the key of D. Since I have to play the actual chords, I have to actually lift up my whole hand to do the different chords for that. And if I have to lift up my whole hand to change the formation, I have to kind of look, even if it's briefly. And for me at least, with my goal is to not have to look, because I want to also be singing, and I want to make sure that I'm not looking down like this while I'm singing. I want to engage the congregation. I want to make sure that I'm playing in one of the 3 keys that I said to you, because the anchor points helps me look this way and not down at my hands. Alright, so I'm going to show you some different examples of songs and how now what you're doing is transposing in your head. I'm so sorry. So if we were to implement the number system, this would actually make it easier on guitar players. It would make it harder on everybody else, which is why we haven't really switched to it yet. But we haven't switched to it because, again, like, you know, for particularly piano players, bass players, it would make it harder because you're just having to really think about the key that you're in. But for guitar players, when we are using a capo and not playing the actual chords, we're having to transpose in our head, because as you guys know, when we have the chords on the screen, it's just the chords of the original key. So when you're using a capo and you're changing the key in your head, if I'm in the key of B flat and I'm playing G chords, that means I have to look at the screen and know what those chords are and what that means I need to play now in the key of G instead of in the key of B flat. Okay, so let's take the key of B flat again. So B flat has the 1, and again, you have to know the scales, like the whole half thing. So B flat is the 1 in the key of B flat, right? So that's your root chord. So again, 2s and 3s are minors, 4 and 5 are majors, 6 is minor, 7 is blah, and then you come back to the 8 or the 1. You just circle back to the 1, okay? So if this is what we have in the key of B flat, then what you're playing in G, for example, is this. So now, again, the 1 in G is G, the 2 is A minor, the 3 is B minor, the 4 is C, the 5 is D, the 6 is E minor, and then you circle back to G, okay? So now what you're doing is you're matching these up. So when I see a B flat on the screen, I need to play a G. When I see an E flat on the screen, I need to play a C. When I see an F, I need to play a D. When I see a G minor, and so forth, right? So basically what I need to do is I kind of need to know my theory because I can look at the screen and just say, oh, E flat, I'm playing a C. And I know that because I know my theory, because I know that in the key of G, I know what the 4 and the 5, oh gosh, the 4 and the 5 and the 6 and the 1 are. If I'm looking at the screen and I see these chords, I know what I'm playing down here, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's take a song for example. Okay. Alright, so Waymaker. I'm just going to take it away. So Waymaker, for example, let's take the girl key as an example, the key of B flat. Okay, so I'm going to show you, so what I'm showing you is our 4-chord songs. So that means that these are songs that play the same 4 chords over and over and over again the entire song. So this will help you get familiarized with transposing in your head when it's easy, like a 4-chord song like that, as opposed to then moving on to songs that have different chord changes. That move on to that later, but start with 4-chord songs like these, the ones that I'm showing you. So I'm giving you one example for each key that you know how to play. So this is the key of G. So the chords in the song the whole time are E flat, B flat, F, and G minor. So that is the whole song pattern goes 4, 1, 5, 6. So when I have capo 3 on and I'm playing in the key of G, that means I'm playing C, G, D, E minor the whole song. So again, if you get familiarized with the number system and theory and just understanding like what the keys are, I can look at this 4-chord progression and I know in my head to play these chords. Okay? So again, just making sure that you are starting with your original key and then going to the key, down to the key, I think you look the other, I don't know, down to the key that I know how to play. B flat down to G is 3 half steps, so capo 3. Okay, so this is one example. So this is the key, this is an example of you transposing to the key of G, one that you know how to play. Okay? Okay, I'm gonna move on. Let's go to the key of C. This is the one that you know how to play too. Alright, so let's start with Holy Ground is in the key of E flat. So in the key of E flat, this is your 1. Your 2 is minor, remember, 3 is minor, 4 and 5 are major, 6 is minor, and then you circle back to your 1. Okay? And again, they go in order. E, F, G, A, B, C, E. Okay? Again, if you're thinking of E flat, and you go, and you think downward, then I know how to play C. Okay. So, your 1 is C, your 2 is D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, back to C. Okay? So now again, you're just basically, you're lining up what your number is. So if I look on the screen and I see an E flat, I'm playing a C. If I look and I see a G minor, I'm playing an E minor. If I look at a B flat, I'm playing a G. Okay, so Holy Ground, for example, the whole song, again, I picked 4 chord songs. The whole song goes A flat, B flat, C minor, E flat. So that is 4, 5, 6, 1. So the other song that I showed you, Waymaker, is 4, 1, 5, 6. So again, it's not always going to be the same like number progression, okay? So this one, it just happens to be 4, 5, 6, 1. So when I'm looking at an A flat, I'm playing an F, B flat a G, C minor becomes an A minor, E flat becomes a C. And remember that these numbers line up, so anytime I see a minor on the screen, I'm playing a minor, okay? Anytime I see a major, I'm playing a major, okay? So just that helps you a little bit too. So when I look up on the screen and I see this progression, the whole song, I know that I'm playing F, G, A minor, C, okay? So again, just remembering that E flat, I'm thinking downward. What the closest one that I can play is C. If I'm thinking downward, that is 3 half steps. So I'm also playing the song in capo 3. Now one more example. The last key that I taught you how to play, which is E, but I'm giving you a song in F. Okay, so if I have F, again, this is your 1, G minor, A minor, B flat major, C major, D minor, back to F, okay? So, if I'm thinking of F, like I showed you earlier, if I think down, oh, there's one right next to it. I can play an E. Alright, now this one is fun because this one is not like the other two where, well actually, Waymaker was kind of like this, kind of similarly to where it had flats in the actual key, but whenever I transposed it to something that didn't have any sharps or flats in it. Same with the key of C, it doesn't have any flats or sharps in it, but this one does, and as you guys know, it's just because it's the key of E, and I showed you these chord formations. So if you're taking the key of F and you're transposing it to E, this is what you're getting. So the 1 becomes E, F sharp minor and G sharp minor, those were those inverse of B and C sharp minor that I showed you, A, and then the bear claws, B and C sharp minor, that is your 5 and 6, and then back to E. So again, whenever we're talking about scales, guys, so this doesn't just, you have to understand the scales and the whole steps and half steps on the scale thing to understand where you're going with this. Because E wouldn't just go to F minor, it's an F sharp minor, and it wouldn't go to just G minor, it would go to G sharp minor, okay? So just understanding that that's how you find the scales too, of like what chords are actually in a key, okay? But this is what you're looking at when you're transposing this. So here's Reckless Love, okay? So the guy key is an F, this is what you're looking at. So the whole song, again, the only exception on this one is the verses just do the first 3 chords, and then just the choruses and the bridges do this last chord. But regardless, it's the same 4 chords the whole time. So the whole song goes D minor, C, B flat, F. So when I am capoed and I'm playing an E, I'm actually playing, when I see a D minor on the screen, I'm playing a C sharp minor. When I see a C on the screen, I play a B. When I see a B flat, I play an A. When I see an F, I'm playing an E. So that progression is 6, 5, 4, 1. Alright, so that is an example of something in the key of F. And remember that F looking down to E is only 1/2 step. So I'm playing capo 1. Okay? Alright. So, of course, there are other examples. I think that when it starts to get tricky is there are some times, not a lot, but there are some keys where you're putting the capo on and you're playing a chord formation or whatever. So Michaela and I were just talking about this on whatever week, last weekend or something. The way that she was capoed, she was looking and there was actually like a shared chord in the 2 keys that she was transposing. So for example, let's say that she was like looking at a G on the screen, but she wasn't playing a G on the guitar, but then she did have to play a G in the chords, I don't know, in the key that she was in. Like she did have to play a G, but it was like for a different chord on the screen. So that is where it like can start to get a little bit confusing, to where you're like, oh, okay, so the G there is not a G here, but then the G here is not there. You know what I mean? It's like the keys that she was playing in the original key had a shared chord, but it wasn't like when she was looking at a G, she was not playing a G here, but then she had to play a G for a whole separate other chord up there, and it was like, oh. But again, if you're able to think numbers-wise, if you're thinking numbers-wise, it doesn't confuse you too bad, because if I'm looking up there and I'm seeing like, oh, 6, 5, 4, 1, then I just know I'm playing 6, 5, 4, 1 here, as opposed to, okay, E flat is D, and this is this, and I know that for a while I was doing that, and honestly, that's not like horrible to do if you just know how to transpose it in your head. But again, if you train yourself to think of the numbers, it makes it a lot easier to transpose. But I do also think that what you'll find is you'll start to memorize it. You'll start to, whenever you get really comfortable with all of these keys and transposing, and when you start to get comfortable with, like when we do enough songs in the key of G flat, for example, I can look at G flat now and be like, oh yeah, I know capo 2 and E, and I can just know, like I can just see those chords and know what I'm playing here, and I don't necessarily have to think of like the numbers, but knowing the numbers is really good, especially for when, for example, if the band director is talking in our ears and they want us to just go to a random progression, that they can just be calling out, okay, go to the 4, okay, go to the 5, that you know I'm playing in G here, so I know what the 4 and the 5 and the 1 and the 6 and are in the key that I'm playing. And it doesn't matter what's up there. If they're calling out numbers, I know what those numbers are in the key that I'm playing. So that's why it's really important to actually understand what you're doing. Alright, so for Waymaker, for example, so if I'm playing in the actual key of G, oh wait, no, sorry, I think it goes slower. So that's the actual key of G, but then if I want to play it in the actual girl key, go in capo 3, and now again I'm playing the same exact chord formations. So I'm playing C, to G, to D, and then E minor. can show you kind of how you can go from to B flat to play in G. Let's go to Holy Ground. So like I said, if I'm playing in the actual key of C, it would be like, no, that's not the key. So again, if I capo 3, now I'm in the key of E flat, which is its original key. And I'm playing the exact same chords. So I'm playing F, G, A minor, and C. Okay? Show us your glory, show us your glory, in wonder and surrender we fall down. Alright, so that's pretty cool. And then the last one that I showed you was the key of F. Which, like I said, is just capo 1, and I'm playing in the key of E. Alright, so if I was playing in the actual key of E, it's not like a huge difference, but this is what it would be. So I would go, for I spoke the word, you were singing over me, right? Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Okay, but now if I do capo 1, I'm actually playing in the key of F. Okay, so just do the same again, same formations. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights in love, found peace the 99. Alright, so now you're in the original key. Alrighty, then make sure that you are practicing and really studying the actual theory behind it and like the number system to go with it, because that will really help you. I think beyond that, once you get comfortable with these 3 songs, so like I said, I'm giving you 4 chord songs just because it's really easy to just repeat those same things over and over again and get them familiarized in your head before moving on to other songs. So once you do that, you can try other songs like Hindsight, and that's in D flat. Not Afraid is in G flat. Who You Say I Am is in G flat. That's a 6/8 song though, again, so remember to make sure that you're practicing 4/4 before moving on to 6/8. But different songs like that that are in other different keys. Thinking of another song like in A flat, for example, and just being like kind of testing yourself and being like, okay, so if I wanted to play something that's in the key of A flat, I have to go, okay, so A flat, if I'm thinking down, if I'm thinking A flat to G, oh my gosh, that's only 1/2 step away, so then I can play in A flat, in G, so that's actually in the key of A flat. So yeah, I hope that this helps you guys. Okay, love you guys, bye. You can do this, okay, you can do this.